How's it going, everybody? On the Road DFS here, bringing you another daily fantasy sports video. In today's video, I'm going to bring you all the information on the November 9th, 2021 main slate here, consisting of 3 games as we really get into the swing of this NBA season here. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into this. At 7:30, we have Milwaukee and Philadelphia playing. Then at 9 o'clock, Atlanta and Utah. And then at 10 o'clock, Portland versus the LA Clippers. So first, I'm going to try to bring the betting odds side of this into here, get you all your information here in one place. So the betting information is not out right now for Milwaukee, Philadelphia. At least I have not been able to locate it, but I can tell you the statistics on the last time they played. This was April 24th, 2021. Milwaukee destroyed them 132-94. So that was what happened last time they played. Keep in mind, these teams are very different at the moment. Sixers are dealing with a little bit of COVID, a little bit of injuries, and you know what? Honestly, same story there for the Bucks. Both teams are playing some players in their starting lineup that they normally wouldn't, so I'll make sure to cover that here when we're looking at our lineups. For Atlanta, Utah, we have a 222 over under. And yeah, last time they played here, let me look here. It was a Utah victory, 116-98 on November 4th, 2021. So 5 days ago. 5 days ago, the Jazz beat the Hawks by 18. So we'll have to see if that holds true once again here in the rematch. And then our last matchup here on the betting odds side is Portland versus the LA Clippers. As I mentioned, a 225.5 over under. So a half point more, I guess, expected here in this matchup compared to Atlanta and Utah. And in their previous matchup here on October 29th, 2021, so fairly recently, Portland came out on top 111-92. So none of these games were very close the last time they played. So that's just something to keep in mind, I guess. I mean, it's weird because they all seem like they'd be fairly evenly matched. Like these are all good enough teams. But for whatever reason, the last time these teams played, all 3 of these matchups ended up kind of blowing out. So we'll have to see if things get closer here when they're playing here come tomorrow. So now looking at the actual lineup building here, these are just my initial thoughts. This is my first time looking at this myself. So these are just my initial thoughts. Obviously, a lot of injury news could come out tomorrow that could change things substantially. But at the moment here, the night before, I have Trae Young here at the top at 9,400. I like the play. Normally, he's like more of a tournament play when you have a bigger slate, a bigger pool of players to pick from. But the reality is, in a 3-game slate, you need your studs in there, and Trae Young could be that guy. But just keep in mind the price tag at 9,400. It's pretty hefty there. DraftKings has not put his stats in from tonight yet, but just keep in mind Trae Young is on the back end of a back-to-back here as the Hawks just played today. And it's also against Utah. So for me personally, I don't think that puts him in that great of a position. Utah is pretty good defensively. And again, it's the second half of a back-to-back. But, I wouldn't talk you off him if you really wanted to play him. Damian Lillard at 9,200. We've been really waiting on that huge Lillard game, and we still are. He's put up mid 40s a few times, and then he's put up a few duds as well. And mid 40s from most players, that's pretty solid. I don't know if that's what you're looking for when you're paying 9.2K for a guy though. So that's your call. I would expect this Portland LA game to be fairly high scoring, but we'll see. I don't hate it. I probably like it more than Trae Young for a little bit of a discount, honestly. Next up, Donovan Mitchell. He's point guard and shooting guard. I like it. I played Mitchell last game. He put up 39.8, not what I was hoping for, but his price has come down by 200 now, and he did have two straight 50 plus games before that 39.8. So it's worth monitoring. Check injury statuses as well. The reason I played him last game was because of the Conley injury. I played him and Ingles. Neither actually did very well. It turned out I think Gobert was the one that absorbed all those points, but that's another story. I like Donovan Mitchell for 9-1. Then, in order to get to your next point guard, you really take a big step down in price. 7-2 CJ McCollum. Now, when I'm looking at all these prices on point guards, I actually kind of feel like McCollum's in the sweet spot here. He only played 24 minutes against the Lakers. I'm not really sure what the story is there. So I apologize for not knowing why he only played 24 minutes. It was a 15-point LA victory, so it didn't seem like it blew out insanely, but he shot 3 of 15 last game, though. Okay, so he got his shots in, even in those 24 minutes. They just were not falling. He's at the cheapest price he's been since the second game of the year. He's tied for the cheapest he's been all year. I really like the McCollum play, quite honestly. On first look, point guard, shooting guard eligible. You could put him in either of those slots. I'm big on McCollum. Then Conley at 6'6". I like decently. He's really good for cash games because he has a solid floor. You can usually expect around 30 or more from him, and I think he's solid. I definitely have no issue going to Conley at all. Drew Holiday, I'm just not really sure. He played 30 minutes here against Washington. Uh, I don't know. He put up 28.3. Seems like he could get back into a groove. I wouldn't hate playing him at 6'4", as long as we know he's going to be on full minutes, which he played 30 last game. I think this next game might be a really good game to target Drew Holiday. Reggie Jackson, 6'3". Yeah, I think you could go there, but Tyrese Maxey at 6'2", that might be where I go, honestly, over Reggie Jackson. I know it's not a huge discount, but save 100. He's going to play like around 40 or more minutes, it's looking like, based on these last few games. And Maxey has just been a really, really solid play lately. Next up, we got Bogdanovich, Clarkson at 5'2". Either of them are okay. They're very scoring dependent players. Next up, Shake Milton for 5'2". He came off the bench for this game because of the return of Danny Green. And guess what? 22 minutes, 13.8 fantasy points. I will pass on Shake Milton at 5'2". He looked great without Green, but with Green back in, I'm not liking how that's looking at all. I'd much rather go to Eric Bledsoe at 4'3". And I don't love playing Bledsoe by any means, but that's a very substantial discount on a player I trust more and a starter. And saying that I trust Eric Bledsoe more than someone is saying something. Going on through, Simons I like at 3'8". He's pretty consistent. Simons is like a mini Conley. He'll put up 20 plus rather than 30 plus, but you're getting him at almost like half the price. So I like Simons a lot, actually. George Hill at 3'6". He played a lot of minutes last game. When the Bucks were at the peak of their injury issues, yes. Now, no. And Drew Holiday has everything to do with why I personally won't be going there. I'd rather go to Simons at 3'8". Looking through these players here, what has Dennis Smith Jr. been doing? No. Lou Will, what have you been up to? Nope. At the top of the shooting guard position are the two guys I already talked about, Mitchell McCollum. Then we have Seth Curry. Okay, and Curry played 41 minutes against the Knicks tonight, and that is wild. 29 and a half points. He shot 4 of 10. At 5'9", I could consider it. If a guy's playing 40 plus minutes and he costs less than 6,000, I feel like you got to at least think about it. I'm not saying, do it for sure, but if it fits into your lineup, I think you shouldn't be upset about that by any means. Bogdanovich, Clarkson, Milton, already talked about him. Terrence Mann. Now, I'll tell you what, this guy This guy won me some money 2 nights ago. He's been looking awesome, playing 30 plus minutes. Uh, I think the price obviously has jumped by 500, but I like the play still. I think 5.1 is reasonable on Terrence Mann. I really do. You should keep in mind his games leading up to last game. He had kind of a ceiling game at 36. Another game he put up 36.8. That's his high on the season. His average is 25 and a half. You just need to keep that in mind when you play him. Don't be expecting another 36. If it happens, great. But you should play him with the assumption that he puts up like 24, hopefully. That would be my take on that. Joe Ingles, man, I don't think I'll do it. Given that it seems like the Jazz will all be healthy and playing. Conley should be in there. Everyone should be good to go. I know Mitchell had a little bit of an injury issue there for a bit. Seems like everyone's good to go. I will not be going with Joe Ingles. I mean, he's what, the exact same price as Mann? Yeah, no chance I go Ingles over Mann. Grayson Allen at 5-1, though. Now that I would consider. Grayson Allen's had some really good games. He's still relevant because the Bucks are still dealing with some stuff. Obviously, Middleton out until at least November 14th. That is Sunday. Um, his price came down for some reason. Don't really understand that. He had a really solid game and his price came down by 100. I mean, 38.3 and 32.3, and his price came down by 100. I don't know why. You could stack Grayson Allen and Mann, and that's like, I think, decent savings. It's not like huge sleeper pick, but I think it's like good enough, honestly. That could really help you in some other areas. Cork Maz at 4.9. I played him tonight. It was solid. He put up about 30. Good price at 4.9. And he's coming in at 4.9 again. We know the Sixers have some serious minutes to spread around. And he took up 40 of them. And he put up about 30. And for under 5K, I think that's wonderful. Kennard, he's been very hit or miss this year. I'm looking at his stats. I won't personally do it. I think he looks like a tournament play. Looking at these stats, he looks like more of a tournament play. But, the Clippers have minutes to go around right now, so he could boom, but he could bust. And it's looked like mostly bust. But if you get him on the boom, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Connaughton, 4-2. The minutes are there. The production just has not been there. Playing just under 30 minutes in his last two. He hasn't been able to break 20 points. He shot 2 of 8 in each of those games. Wow, 1 of 7 from 3, 2 of 6 from 3. All right, the reality is his shot just hasn't been falling the last 2 games. I think Pat Connaughton is a decent bounce back candidate here. Getting him at a discount. I'm not saying necessarily play Grayson Allen or play him over Grayson Allen, but it's a nice little savings there. I think 900, and his price has come down because he's just been shooting poorly. Some of these guys, when their price comes down because they just haven't been hitting their shot, unless you believe for whatever reason that they're in a serious shooting slump that's going to transition game to game, there's really no reason not to give them a shot when their price comes down. I know playing scoring dependent players is risky, but I mean, for 4,200, you don't need Connaughton to do that much. You just need him to shoot better than 1 of 7 from 3, which he's going to do at some point. Is it going to be tomorrow night? I don't know. But, I might consider taking a chance that it's tomorrow night for sure. Then who else we have here? There's Reddish. I'll stay away from that. He had kind of a hot start to the year, and now I just don't know really what to think of him. He hasn't been shooting particularly well either at all. He's another one that you could go to. He's 3.8, but if I'm going for a shooting guard at 3.8, it's probably Simons. He's point guard, shooting guard eligible. Herter at 3.5. I think he had a decent game tonight. DraftKings hasn't updated it yet, but I don't hate Herter at 3.5. I know his minutes haven't been good, but like that's like I don't know. I just feel like he's a decent player to be this cheap, but you make a judgment call on that one. That's just my initial reaction is like we have some real bums down here around the 3.5K range, and just seeing Kevin Herter doesn't quite feel right. Not saying he's like a great player, and I know a lot of people probably have kind of a clouded vision of Herter because of what he did in the playoffs this last year. But take that out of it, I still feel like he's a pretty good player to be priced at 3.5. Moving on to the small forward position here, we have Paul George at the top. Um, he's the second most expensive player on this slate, and I think he's always a great play, at least this season so far, because I mean, he's the Mr. Do It All for the Clippers right now. Coming off back to back, not great games. Obviously, 48.3, 42.3. You'd take that from most players, but you don't really take that from Paul George. And his price actually rose by 100. And I think that's just a reflection of the small slate here. They weren't going to let you get Paul George for cheap in a slate like this. But I like it, but I don't know if I'll get there personally. Although, as I already said, I do expect the Trailblazers Clippers game to maybe be the highest scoring. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I'd have to look at the stats, but I could see that being it's the latest game, I believe, and I feel like sometimes those late games just pop off. So I could see that being the highest scoring, in which case, you want some pieces to that based on what I've already said, I feel like I made it pretty clear that I like McCollum a good amount because I think he's on a bit of a sale. But if you want to go Dame or George, that could definitely work. But I think there's some bargains within this game that I'll talk about here as well. So let's see here. Coming up next, we have Bogdanovich. This is Utah Bogdanovich. Um, we already covered Atlanta Bogdanovich. He's gonna play 30 plus minutes in most games here. Last time they played Atlanta, he scored 34.3. He actually had a season high in points against Atlanta. It looks like in every game except one, he's put up at least 10 shots. I view him similarly to Conley. I think he's got a safe floor. He's probably good for cash games, just a nice little glue piece for your lineup. Next up, a value guy I really like, and I've been going to him a lot of nights, Nicholas Batum. His price is up 500 from what it was last game, and some of us got to him really early. If you got to him really early, he was sub 4K here not too long ago. But now times have changed. We have a small slate, and people are catching on to Batum's current value. And for that reason, he is at 5.2. I still like it. I still like the price. Um, last, let me talk on the last four games here 33.5 fantasy, 34.3, 26.5, 34.5. He shot the ball around 10 times in each of those games. I like it a lot. I like that 5.2 price. Then we got another guy at 5.2 I like here, who I've also gone to other nights. Powell. Norman Powell from the Trailblazers. Again, these are two pieces to the Clippers, referring to Batum and Powell. These are two pieces in that Clippers Trailblazers game that you could go to if you want exposure to that game, but you don't want to pay for Dame, or you don't want to pay for Paul George, or you don't want to pay for McCollum, whatever. These are some mid-range guys you could go to get exposure to that game. Anyway, we have Powell, and he's just been really solid. I mean, he's been really solid in his last, let's just say last four here. 22.8 and 40.8, yes. 37.5, yes. 24, sure. And he didn't have that good of a shooting night. Again, when he's out there, he's going to take 10 plus shots. And I think Powell's a solid player, honestly. So that's another one I like. Some players we already covered here. Niang from the Sixers. He's kind of cooled off. He was looking like he was a really good value guy for a while, but he scored less than 20 in 2 straight games, so I don't think I'll be going there. But if you're expecting a bounce back, at 4.7, that's a good value. DeAndre Hunter at 4.3. Um, I'd be curious to look at what he did tonight because I thought he was kind of a good value tonight, and I didn't end up playing him, but um, he's going to play around 30 minutes. He's just been shooting very poorly, honestly. But if you trust Hunter, you could go to him at 4.3 for sure. Danny Green at 4.2. You want the definition of scoring dependent. Here it is, Danny Green, but he played 30 minutes. I think that's solid. He shot okay, 3 of 9. Not really. Actually, it's not even really good at all. But he still put up 23.8 points. And given the price, I don't mind it that much. Now, if he was priced much higher than this, I'd be like, no. But I mean, he's priced pretty cheaply here. I mean, he's a starter for a Philadelphia team that needs people to shoot the ball, and that's what he does. So I could see you getting there for sure. And that's going to do it for the small forward position. All right, on to the power forwards. We have Giannis at the top, the most expensive player on the slate, and I think for good reason. He's just an anchor piece. I think fading him is an extremely risky move on a lot of slates, honestly, regardless of size. But a 3-game slate, you got to be pretty wild to fade Giannis, in my opinion. But if you feel good about it and you think it helps you in other places, then go ahead and do it. I don't think I'll be that brave. I think my lineups will be built around Giannis. That's just the reality. Because I'm going to assume most other people do that as well, and it is what it is. But Giannis is Giannis. Not much analysis to really do there. John Collins at 6'8". He had a really nice game against Phoenix. Man, I really wish that they updated this to show me how they did in their last game. Let me see if I can search him up here real quick and see how he did tonight. Sorry, just checking this out here. No, it has not updated yet. So I don't know how John Collins did, but at 6'8", that seems like a decent price for him. Power forward and center eligible. Then we got a bit of a drop off to Bobby Portis at 5'4". He started last game. I was on him before they even announced that he was starting. So I was pretty, honestly, not super pleased to see that they announced that because I was really thinking, quite honestly, I was thinking that he wouldn't be very highly owned. And then the notification came out, Bobby Portis starting. And I was like, well, now everyone's going to be on it. But, it is what it is. And, yeah, that's basically it. Portis probably starts again. And for the foreseeable future, I believe. I mean, I think it's going to be a while until we see Brook Lopez back. So that's kind of where I'm at with Bobby Portis. A lot of guys you already talked about here. Royce O'Neal at 4'4". I could get down with that, honestly. Most of the time when you see the name Royce O'Neal, it does not exactly strike, big fantasy producer into the imagination. But lately, for whatever reason, and I know Utah had some injuries, but then everybody was healthy last game, and he still put up above 30. So I don't know what's exactly going on. I'm glad that there wasn't a massive overreaction either in terms of pricing. He's at 4.4. It's up, but it's not insanely up. It's still at the point where you could get him for a cheap price and he wouldn't need to do a ton to hit value. You don't need him to put up 30 plus. That's what he's been doing lately. I don't know for what reason because he's been doing it with and without injuries on that team. But at 4.4, no issue going there, honestly. Then at 4.3, we have Robert Covington, and he started the year just horribly. Just absolutely awful, like unplayable. Um, but you can see the way that DraftKings valued him at the beginning of the year because he came in with a 5.2 price tag. He's not up to that yet. But the last 3 games, which his minutes have been consistent the last 3 games, keep that in mind too. His minutes were kind of all over the place for certain points to start the year. Um, I don't know if that's because of blowouts. Looking at this, it looks like, yeah, quite honestly, um, the Blazers were involved in a lot of blowouts, both directions to start the year. So that affects a lot of things, but it seems to have affected Covington. He put up 24 and a half last time the Clippers played the Blazers, and he's put up 25 plus the last 3 games, playing 30 plus minutes in each of them. I like the price tag, 4-3. You don't need him to do a ton. Again, you don't need Rocco to go insane. You just need him to do something. And if he's playing 30 plus minutes in what should be a high scoring game, as I've already emphasized, yeah, I mean, I think it's decent. I'm not personally going to Nawara. Um, Gallinari at 3-4 sparks my interest a little bit. He played 23 minutes against Phoenix. Again, I would love to see what he did tonight, but they haven't updated it. Reed on the Sixers, I thought started, but it looks like he played 5 minutes tonight. All interest is gone on my end. Thanasis, no. Larry Nance Jr. at 3-1, that's all right. I don't hate playing Larry Nance Jr. That um, I don't know. I won't do it, but at 3-1, don't need him to do a ton there. All right, going to center position. Joel Embiid is in the NBA's health and safety protocols. And let's not overthink this. That probably makes Drummond a lock. I'm not the type of guy that gives a ton away in my lineup building, but I will probably have Giannis and Drummond as my anchors. And I think most people can figure that out on their own. You don't really need me to tell you that. But Drummond's price has come up here. So just keep that in mind. They priced him up. He's the most expensive he's been all year. There's always that small chance that he gets into foul trouble. Actually, maybe not even small, but I still think at 7-7, he's a good value. The only thing though is you have Gobert at 8-9. If you want to go there, Gobert has been really good lately. And then you have Nurkic at 7-4 for cheaper than Drummond. I don't think I thought I'd see that here in 2021. But Nurkic is cheaper than Drummond. And then Capella at 7-1. Now, I'll tell you what, I do know how he did tonight because I played him on DraftKings. I don't know what went on with Capella. He put up like 14 DraftKings points against the Warriors. I'm not like a huge Clint Capella guy, but I was like, I think his price was 7-1, and he was priced. I think he's priced that way again, and I don't want to take too much time complaining here, but I was like, against the Warriors, yeah, right. I mean, I know they're good defensively, but like, who's gonna handle him? Because I felt like Draymond would have his hands somewhat full with John Collins. I was like, what is Kevon Looney gonna take down Clint Capella? I almost got to assume that foul trouble was involved. I'll look into it and make a judgment call. But normally I would love this, except he's also against Utah. That's like the other part of it. The Gobert matchup. I mean, he's what, the 3-time defending defensive player of the year? Not usually the kind of guy you'd want to play the guy going directly against him, but it's just something worth considering. After looking at this, I'm going to be honest, Drummond isn't the lock I thought he initially was. When I'm used to Drummond being a massive value, and I think he can still be a great value, but at 7-7, I think he's starting to get in the territory where maybe he might not hit value, especially if fouls get involved. I don't know who on Milwaukee's going to guard him. Side note, not to go back to Drummond here, but like is Portis on him? I guess. Um, But yeah, you can go down here. John Collins is center eligible at 6'8". That's just when I see some of these guys that are priced under Drummond, that's what gives me a little bit of pause. I think in cash games, you almost have to play Drummond though, because I think he's going to be so popular. But I don't know. Make that decision for yourself. I'm just saying for me personally, when I'm starting to look down this list, I become a little more uncertain about Drummond just because he's the third most expensive center on the slate. Again, not a huge slate, but that's counting Giannis as a center in this situation. In terms of pure center, Gobert is the only one more than Drummond. And it's by what, 1,200? Not even by a ton. So I don't know. Zubac at 5'3", you could go there. I would assume he'll be utilized on Nurkic. Um, at 5'3", that's a pretty good price. He's been playing pretty big minutes lately. So yeah, I like that play. Covington's actually center eligible. Interesting. Whiteside, he's been a good value. He doesn't play that many minutes, but he doesn't need that many minutes to hit value. I could get down with some 4-1 Whiteside. Hartenstein, I'm probably good on that, but he's very cheap at 3-3. Just something you could think about. And that's probably it. So thank you for watching this video. I hope to bring more DFS content here and help you guys out as we look to make some money together. And if you enjoy the content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And I will be back with another NBA slate here in the next few days.